So the Chicago Bears just made a huge change. I think this is a really positive thing because you know what? It is tough getting on here and making a video after a loss like that. I didn't want to do it, honestly. I've been delaying it. But then I see how our head coach reacted to this. He just announced a huge shift during his time with the media after this game. I really like this a lot, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. You see, Ben Johnson is shifting the onus for this nonsense that we're watching on TV, all of these mistakes, all the penalties. He's shifting it away from the coaching staff and onto the veteran leadership on this team, and I think this is a really, really positive thing. And after this loss to the Ravens, Ben Johnson, he stated that he was so unhappy with the specific trend that we're seeing. You know what it is. I know what it is. We're talking about the penalties that are happening every single week. And he said this in his post-game press conference. The penalties, to me, that's what stands out first and foremost. We still have some of the pre-snap issues. That stuff adds up and it hurts us. Like, we know that, right? But then he took it a step further. He went on and essentially told reporters that penalties are not on him as a coach. Instead, he's placing blame squarely where it belongs at this point, and it's on the players. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, and you can't make him drink. We can talk about all these like weird sayings that old people say. I just aged myself by saying that. But this is exactly what he had to say. I'm such an idiot sometimes. Let's get away with it occasionally, but it's not the way you win in this league. I really put it on the leaders in that locker room, us coaches. We've been pounding that drum now for a while. We haven't gotten the results we wanted to. So it's on the leaders here on this team to get it right. We've got a number of guys who are leaders on this team. And I think now that it's bit us in the rear end, and with this loss, I think it opens your eyes a little bit more like, okay, we do need to clean this up if we want to get where we want to go. So you might ask, how bad is it, right? We have seen a lot of undisciplined teams in our time here as Chicago Bears fan. Kevin Fishbane pointed out exactly how bad this is, okay? The Bears had 11 penalties against Baltimore. That's their third game of the season with 10-plus penalties. So let's put that into perspective a little bit. Unbelievable. They haven't had at least 3 games with double-digit penalties since 2019, and it's only week 8. 11 penalties against Baltimore. It's the third game of the season with 10-plus penalties. So that makes you want to hear a little more what Ben Johnson has to say, right? We're here as coaches. We're going to help and support these guys and be along with them, but it'd go a long way if we just had a little bit more ownership in that locker room to take the bull by the horns so we do get this cleaned up. What he's doing here, I don't think Ben Johnson's throwing him under the bus. I think it's a demand for accountability. It's a shift in expectations for these players in the locker room. And it even goes for the training staff as well. There's a lot of talk as well in this presser. You can watch it in its entirety. It's right on the Bears website. He also talked about strength and conditioning coaches. He talked about training staff. He talked about strength coaches. There's so many soft tissue injuries on this team. It's absolutely ridiculous. And he's really calling everybody to task. Hey, I have a demand for excellence here. Sloppiness will not be tolerated, even in coaching. And it goes from me to my coaching staff all the way down to the players. But now I'm done sheltering you guys as players. You're not responding to coaching the way that you should. Now you're either going to respond to accountability or you're no longer going to be a Chicago Bear. I think that's completely where it's going. Get this cleaned up. Let's try something different. And also I'm seeing online that a lot of people are like, hey, Caleb Williams isn't the guy for this team long term. Sorry, I'm just coming off a cold, so give me some grace on that. Also, like Ben Johnson isn't the coach. This team should be imploded. Everything's destroyed. Woe is me. Everything's awful. You are in the first year of a new coaching regime. You're getting over the nonsense that Coach Eberflus had at Hallis Hall. You've got so many good players on this team. And then also, half the secondary's hurt. Shamar Turner just went down. Javon Dexter might not be available. We've got a lot of issues, and you've just got to stay the course and trust the process. I'm telling you, I believe 100% that this is going to be corrected. In the meantime, we're going to have to kind of hold our nose sometimes during this season. I was hoping it wasn't going to be a rebuilding year. Ben Johnson says the expectation is a win right now. It's not too late, but I think 4-3 really says essentially who the Bears are as a team. We're good enough to be competitive. We're going to surprise some teams, but not yet disciplined enough, not yet having everything together to be like a truly dominant or truly contending team. Hopefully that changes, but that's where it lies. That's where it lies right now, and we've got to be okay with this. So, more good news, right? Sunday marked the 7th time in 7 games that the Bears committed more penalties than their opponent. Now, okay. You see online as well a lot of this penalty discrepancy between the Bears and their opponents, that somehow the NFL has it out for the Bears. I mean, granted, there's been some really crappy calls. That offensive pass interference by Hopkins, pushing off with both hands when apparently Colston Loveland in a previous game can't even do a little nudge with his elbow. I mean, I understand that. The phantom false starts, I understand that. But the gulf between these penalties called on our opponents and us is a really good indication of the lack of discipline with this team. And there's no hiding it any longer. There are no more excuses under this head coach. It's already starting. Senator Drew Dahlman had this to say: we're doing our best to analyze the why for some of them as they keep coming up. Ben Johnson said again on Monday, we're shooting ourselves in the foot way too much. And then he closed with, we're on a mission here this week to get this all cleaned up. And I have complete confidence that we will do that. Now, the most telling as far as where we are with penalties, and this is absolutely ridiculous. I almost don't even want to show the chart. This is what we're looking like at. And there's a site here that really tracks penalties for teams and kind of where that lines up as far as the NFL. You can look at it at any time. It's actually NFLpenalties.com, really easy to find. But this is kind of where we're looking here. The totals here. Penalties against, 64. Wow, that's a lot of penalties. That's tied for 5th most in the NFL. Penalty yards, 5.33. That's the 4th, 533, excuse me. That's the 4th most. Penalties called in road games. Here we go. 36, tied for 2nd most. And I mean, also we have the conspiracy theorists, especially those penalties called in road games. Someone in the league offices is out to get their favorite team. And yeah, let's look at this next data set. It's not really going to help if you're a conspiracy theorist. I just think that this is how undisciplined the Bears have been. Because false start penalties. I better take a drink before this one. The Bears are the worst offender in the NFL at 2.286 per game. And then they're also tied for the most with 16 roughing. False start penalties, tied for the most at 16. Worst offender, almost 3 per game. Now let's look at roughing the passer. This is another sign of discipline here. The Bears are the worst in the NFL here, too, with a league-high 5 roughing the passer penalties. And now we're talking about the details. Technique, right? Chop blocks and low blocks being called. They're the worst offender in the NFL again. Is this a conspiracy, or is this a team that's simply just not disciplined? We're talking about not just the offensive line either. It's all 3 phases, honestly, in the game. We've got defensive penalties that cost the Bears 18 yards on Sunday. We had an offsides infraction against defensive tackle Jonathan Ford. Billings had an encroachment foul late in the game that certainly didn't help things. That was really ridiculous. And then we're looking at pre-snap, right? We know that that's a problem. But the cleanup effort, it's got to be done across the board. It ties into Johnson's really amplified calls for accountability. This is what he closed with. Talking to his team. If you see something, say something. It's as simple as that. We have to continue to work on our practice habits and get better in that regard. They understand what I'm looking for. I think we're going to be in good shape. Now, this is even extending into special teams. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but there was actually on DeMarco Jackson, there was an illegal formation penalty that really made a huge difference in this game, and it doesn't really show up in the stat box. Taylor, he had a 59-yard kick. It was just beautiful, just a beautiful kick. It was down that the Ravens won, and then it looked like we were in really good shape. The Bears trailed just 7-6 before halftime. But then what happened? Absolutely ridiculous. A formation infraction on Jackson that nullified it. He had to punt again, and then it ended up sailing out of bounds at the Baltimore 22. So we're talking a net loss of 21 yards because of a stupid penalty. And this is what Johnson had to say. D-Jack simply lined up about a foot too deep. A foot too deep. He's played enough ball in this league. He knows better than that. And you're kind of looking at Blackwell had a hold. He had a low block by Noah Sewell. That also folded into 30 yards of special teams penalties as well. It's three phases. This team just has to tighten up. It is time to do it. Doesn't matter what our record is. That's absolutely inexcusable. And I absolutely love the tenor that our head coach is giving us in the media and saying, hey, I've been insulating this long enough. It's time for the players to take accountability, and I'm giving it to the locker room. Hold each other accountable. Like he said, if you see something, say something. It's as simple as that. He's like, you guys fix it in the locker room, or I'm going to start changing personnel, and I do not blame him. Cincinnati's coming up. This is a team on defense that can get got. I don't feel good about facing them with a depleted secondary, but this is the kind of game that the Bears show up for. And I really have a lot of optimism for this game, but a team that's going to continue to make penalty after penalty and shoot themselves in the foot, they don't stand a chance. So you guys, let me know what you think. Do you think this new attitude by our head coach is a good thing or a bad thing? And I'll chop it up in the comments with you. Bear down, and I'll continue to talk to you throughout the week leading into this Sunday game. See ya.